I got lost in the mountains, and this is how I survived 3 days with no food or help. It was day 3, and I had just woken up from a night of freezing, shivering, and hallucinating. My body felt awful. Every inch of me hurt, and as I looked down at my hands, I saw these cuts all over my fingers. And then it hit me. The pain, the cold, the hunger, the thirst. It was all because of these cuts. I didn't have any water left, but before I go into that, let me start at the beginning. This is me. I love hiking and exploring the mountains. There's just something about the wilderness that really brings me peace. So when my friend Andrew invited me to go on this hike with him, I immediately said yes. We were both in pretty good shape. We had all the right gear, and we even told our significant others where we were going, and when we'd be back, just in case. So when we set off on this hike, we were both feeling pretty confident. The trail started off pretty easy. It was well maintained, and the incline wasn't too bad. So we started making our way up the mountain. About an hour in, we came across this creek, and we decided to take a break, have some snacks, and figure out where we needed to go. When we arrived at the creek, we saw that there was a log that stretched across the entire thing. So we walked across the log and continued on. What we didn't see was that as the log had been worn down by the water, there were these little divots all across it, and as we walked, we kept losing our footing and slipping, and that's when I slipped and fell. I remember falling and hitting my hand on the ground. I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, that doesn't feel good." And then my mind went to Andrew. I yelled his name and he didn't respond. So I started to panic. I yelled again and he still didn't respond. I don't remember much after that. I remember screaming and crying and then nothing. When I woke up, I was laying on the ground. I don't remember how long I was out, but I do remember looking around and being like, "Where is Andrew? Where am I?" And then it hit me. I was alone. I was completely alone. The sun was starting to set, and it was getting cold. I started walking and calling out for Andrew, but I quickly realized I didn't know where I was or where I needed to go. All I knew was that I needed to get out of the mountains before nightfall. So I started to run. I ran for what felt like hours. I remember tripping over rocks and sticks, and my legs got all scraped up. But I didn't care. I just kept running. I made it to this clearing, and I started walking, and that's when I saw it. This cabin. I remember thinking, "Thank God, I'm saved." I started running towards the cabin, and then I slipped and fell. And when I hit the ground, I remember looking up at the sky and screaming. No one was coming to save me. I was completely alone. As darkness fell, so did the temperature. I curled up on the ground for a bit to try and keep warm, but it was no use. I was freezing. I remember seeing these stars and thinking, "Wow, they're beautiful, but I can't even appreciate them. I'm so cold." And then I started hallucinating. I saw these 2 figures in the distance, and I started running towards them. I don't remember what I was thinking. I just remember wanting to get closer to them. When I got closer, I realized it was 2 logs, and that's when I gave up. I just laid down on the cold, hard ground, and I closed my eyes, and I tried to think of happy thoughts, but all I could think of was how cold I was, how hungry I was, and how much I missed my mom. I don't remember how long I was out, but I do remember waking up, and it was cold. I was so cold, and that's when I noticed the cuts on my fingers. As I looked down at my hands, I saw these cuts all over my fingers. They were red and swollen, and they hurt so bad. I tried to stand up, but I fell back down. I was weak. I had no energy. That's when I knew I had to get myself together if I wanted to survive. I started walking and I came across some berries. I ate them, even though I knew they probably weren't safe to eat. I was so hungry. I needed sustenance. I don't remember how long I walked, but eventually I came across this creek and I drank from it. Even though it was freezing cold, I needed water. I had to have it. As the sun started setting, I started to panic. I didn't want to spend another night alone in those mountains. I started running and I tripped and fell, and that's when I saw it, a cabin. I started running towards it, and as I got closer, I could hear voices. People were inside that cabin. I started pounding on the door and yelling, "Please, let me in! Please, help me!" But no one answered. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually I gave up. I sat down on the ground and I cried. I was freezing cold, and I was so tired. I don't remember how long I was out, but I do remember waking up and hearing voices. I opened my eyes, and there were these two women standing over me. They asked me if I was okay, and I nodded. They helped me get up, and I could barely speak. All I could say was, "Please help me. I need water." And then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed and I was so confused. I looked down at my hands and I saw these cuts all over my fingers. I didn't have any water left.